What is up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Make Every Second Count Live with me, your host and international award-winning Make Every Second Count speaker. Gosh, that sounds so good. Jeff Marconette Jr. Now, guys, I'm pumped up. I know. I'm always pumped up, but I really am. So, tonight's guest is amazing. She is a international best-selling author, and I am so honored to have her on here. But I ask you guys if you would please like, comment, share, and make sure you subscribe. We want to have a conversation, not just make a presentation. So please keep the comments coming and ask all the questions you would like. But with no further ado, I would like to bring to the stage Denise.
Thank you, Jeff.
Hello, Denise.
I'm so excited to be here.
I am honored that you are actually here.
Well, thank you for asking me to be here. It's such an honor. Your story inspires me.
Well, I appreciate that too. That makes me feel even better. I know I build myself up quite a bit on here, and I'm like, hey,
It's
international award-winning speaker.
You have done it, and you inspire and touch people's hearts every time you're on here. So thank you for that.
Hey, thank you so much. I really do appreciate all the kind words. But so I happen to know from my own experience of a car wreck and being in a coma 2.5 months, in the hospital 3.5, and being told I would never walk again as a 17-year-old kid. I know that life tends to throw things in the way, tries to hold you back from progressing forward. But people can get past those things. But I would like to know, Denise, has there been anything in your life that has tried to hold you back?
Oh my, yes. I think that's one thing we all have to realize, Jeff, in our journey. We never know what's around the corner. And the only thing we really have is the belief in ourselves that we are not our circumstances, we are our dreams. And so after I left my teaching career, a 26 state awarded teaching career in Mount Pleasant, Iowa, I left that career because I wanted to help educators. I didn't feel that there was self-care. I didn't feel there was personal development. And I just really believed that I could be the change I wanted to see in education. I didn't know how that was going to happen. Well, I was going along on an entrepreneurial journey now, because what I do in real life is now I help educators and women entrepreneurs to overcome adversity and overwhelm in their life and rediscover their zest for teaching. Because when I left mine, I didn't want anyone to feel the way I felt. So I said, I got to go support educators. Well, something happened. A little tweak came in there, Jeff. And all of a sudden, my mother died suddenly.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, she died. This was back in 2014. So it was 10 years ago. And she died suddenly taking care of my very troubled nephew, who then took his life 10 days later.
Oh my God.
I was in what I call the dark night of my soul. And by August of that year, I told my husband, I need to get my spirit back. I don't feel like me anymore. I had left teaching and I had just wasn't sure what I was going to do next to be of service to others. And I went down to Jack Canfield's. He's the Chicken Soup for the Soul writer, and he's written the book, The Success Principles, How to Get from Where You Are to Where You Want to Be. And I am an advanced trainer with him now. But I went down in 2014, long before I did any of this. And what he taught me changed my life. I learned one very special thing. E plus R equals O. E plus R equals O. There's events in your life that happen. You had one, I had one. But we have control over our reaction to that event, which is what you did, and which you'll hear is what I did.
Yeah.
But that will affect the outcome. So we are not our circumstances. We are our dreams. I kept my dreams alive. When I learned that, I went, oh, so I can go on now and do all of the things I've dreamt about doing in this part of my life. I am not my circumstances. And I learned strategies for success. And that's why I'm a success coach now, is because I want adults to learn to do that. But we'll talk about this at the end. I now write books for children to teach them.
Woo! Wow, that is amazing right there. I don't know how I would react to losing my mother and then my nephew within a matter of 10 days. That would be super hard.
Mm-hmm.
But
It was.
one thing that I notice about that is while you called them your dark days, it kind of resembles the dark ages in history.
Yeah.
And that seems different to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird how life has so many patterns to it. And we have to recognize those patterns.
Mm-hmm.
But you see all that stuff that you had to go through, just like everybody else out there is having to go through something. And if you're not, just wait. I promise it's coming.
They'll come.
And it's there all the time for everyone. But you see, we made it through.
Right.
The people in the dark ages made it through.
Right.
Well, they might not have lived through the dark ages, but people in general made it through the dark ages.
Mm-hmm.
There's always a light at the end of that tunnel.
Yeah.
And there's a lesson in all these things.
Mm-hmm.
So, is there anything that your dark period taught you
Oh my.
that helped you out with your future endeavors?
There was so much I learned. We don't take time to do personal development the way we should. When you dive into it because you're feeling sad, you're feeling overwhelmed, you're facing an adversity you've never had in your life before, that's when the beauty of what you say to your mind comes into play. If you have a growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset, and I'll explain that real briefly, a growth mindset says, I can get through this. I'll share with you, Jeff, my favorite quote. It's an Eleanor Roosevelt quote. And I said this to myself over and over when I was going through this. You gain strength, confidence, and courage in every situation where you must stop and look fear in the face. You say to yourself, I've lived through a horror before. I can take the next thing that comes along. I must do what I think I cannot do. And what I did was went on a 10-year entrepreneur journey to learn from the best mentors I could find so that I could now be out speaking and training and writing books and being on podcasts and TV shows so that I can share what I learned that lit my life up and changed everything for me. And now I want to do that for others. And I know that's what you love about doing what you do.
Yeah, there's a real I don't know what to call it, but it's an amazing feeling
Mhm.
when you are living what you're meant to do.
Amen.
And I while I had to go through all this stuff during my teens, I honestly wouldn't take it back. I wouldn't redo it if I had the chance. Now, a lot of people think I'm crazy for saying something like that because how can you want to go through all this again? And I don't want to go through it again. I'll just go ahead and say that. But I don't want to change it because that made me who I am today.
Mhm.
That gave me this purpose because before my accident, I never had the thought of being a motivational speaker or traveling the world and speaking to people.
Yeah.
That was never on my bucket list.
Right.
But after my accident, I realized that, hey, I have a message. When I was young, the first job that I wanted was a lot of people want to be firemen, a lot of people want to be policemen for a first job. But no, I wanted to be Superman. And then as I started getting older and getting older, I realized that the people kind of talked me out of that, saying that it's not possible to be Superman.
Mhm.
So I went for some other things.
Yeah.
And then when my accident happened and I was soul searching through all this, what is called life, and just going around in a circle, not doing much, spinning my wheels, I noticed that I could be Superman. Now, I can't stop trains with my chest. I can't jump buildings in a single bound. I can't fly. I can't see through walls. I can't shoot lasers out of my eyes. But I change the world every day.
You do.
I can inspire people's hearts, people's minds. I can change their lives. I can even save some lives. That is what I call a superhero.
It's a superhero. It's a superpower. And it's the power of the light inside of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I want to take a second here and say hello to my dad who is watching. I don't know where you are right now, Dad, but thank you for joining in.
Hi, Dad.
And then we have Mrs. McLean. She was my 8th grade science teacher.
Oh, wow.
And then we have Colin White. Now, I'm not sure who that is, but thank you for watching, Colin. And then we have Ben Bruce Fane Jr., who is watching us all the way from Lagos, Nigeria. And he says, hey, everyone. So we want to thank you so much, Ben Bruce. Hope you're having a great evening. And I will talk to you later, I'm sure.
That's
But
wonderful.
so I'm curious, like how how did what were your dark ages like? Or dark days or
I
whatever
had
you call
Yes,
them?
I've had a lot of them in my life, and ironically, Jeff, every book I've done 6 books now. Every book I've done is chronicling, a dark time and how I used a growth mindset to get out of it. The very first book was called Ordinary Miracles, like you had an accident. I fell in my classroom from 8 feet and broke my right wrist
Wow.
and had it pinned. This was the last 2 days before school was out, and I was supposed to move to another classroom. Well, when they took the cast off, Jeff, I could do nothing. My hand was swollen up to here. I couldn't make a fist. And I had to start in a new classroom at a new grade level to move schools. And so I had a decision to make. I said to myself, okay, I'm getting the full use of my hand because I'm a pianist. And so the name of my story was Doctor, Will I Be Able to Play the Piano Again? And so I started with third graders. And so I just made it a goal. I had to, took 7 months of therapy, painful therapy. I don't know if anybody out there's broke their wrists, but it's a painful rehab. Yeah, it's a painful rehab. And so I just made it with all my students that it was a goal, and they just kept asking me. Years later, I'm at the doctor's office, and one of my former students is there, and they said, "Mrs. McCormick, how's your arm now?" And I said, "It's like it never happened." Because I worked so hard with my mindset, and my occupational therapist had me write the story, and it was in a national book. It was the first story in Accidents at Work. And he said, I was not going to tell you that you couldn't get the full use back because you believed you could. And therein, and you know, Jeff, too, from what you came back from, therein lies the power of what you say to yourself.
So, all right, I want to kind of pick up what you're putting down there, but so what you're saying is pretty much what Henry Ford said. Whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right.
Exactly.
So what is it that is in the mind when you make up your mind that keeps you on that makes you go for stuff that other people say is not possible?
I think it's called mindfulness, and it's an ability to live in the moment. Okay, to live in the moment, to not be back in that accident. Well, if I hadn't done this, this wouldn't have happened. You know, all the sad, poor me stuff, and not be worried about the future. I'm never going to do that again. I stayed in the moment, and wherever I was putting my full energy to rehabilitate my hand. But I had to work on my mindset because I was starting in a new school with a new grade level, and my students deserved the best of me. And so I pushed through that because I in my first children's book I wrote, the message of my book is what you say to your mind will then say to you. It all starts with your words, which you have the power to choose. And nobody else has that power. And Jeff, I want people to know that power is so big. It's so incredibly big. Every book talks about that. In Women Who Shine, I wrote about 6 decades of mindset. I had a dark day when I was 13. I lost my best friend in a golfing accident. I was standing right beside her when she was hit. The next day, I take off for vacation, and I'm not back for a whole week. And that afternoon, that Saturday I left for vacation, she went in to lie down and had a brain aneurysm. So I missed the funeral. I missed all of that closure. Nobody asked me how I felt. I went upstairs. You know how I did this? I did it with my own mind. I went upstairs, grabbed my quote books. You like quotes as much as I do. And I grabbed my quotes books and my prayer books. And I decided I was going to live my life as a legacy to her by making positive choices. So at 13, I had that experience. But most people won't have that at 13. So I wrote a book for children that teaches them that we're not our thoughts. We are not our thoughts. Our thoughts are 60 to 70,000 thoughts we have every day, Jeff. And 80% of those are negative. It's our conscious mind's way to protect us. And back in the day when there were saber-toothed tigers, we needed to be protected. Yeah. But now we need to get out of our comfort zone. So we need to be aware that we have that power, and that when we say to ourselves, we can do it, we can.
Yeah, that is so true. That is amazing. So I have to say that there are a lot of people out in the world going through things today.
Mhm.
And a lot of times those things aren't the easiest, but they happen to people.
Right.
And how can somebody develop that mindset that you had when you were 13? Because that, I believe, will help people.
I think you have to realize the power of the words that you say to yourself. You need to read inspirational books. You need books with quotes. You need books that inspire you. You need to read stories of people who have overcome adversities, like several of the books I wrote in Women Who Impact and Women Who Shine, and my story of leading with legacy. I share my stories of how I do that, and that's what I do when I coach individuals. They tell me they didn't realize they had this power, and I said, and it's like you, Jeff. It was a blessing that not that that happened, because Kathy's now my angel, and she'll be the first one to greet me when I get there. But it changed my life. It turned me into this immense. And people always say, "How do you stay so positive?" This is because I know the power of the things that I want to do comes with staying on that side. Do I have moments that are hard? Yes. What do? I dive in to I have a morning on purpose routine that I do. I dive into prayer. I dive into meditation. I dive into journaling. I dive into exercise. That one is so huge. I'm a swimmer and yoga and walking. And I believe you have to keep your body active so that you can do the things you want to do. I just traveled to West Africa this year. I've got my dress on made by the dressmakers there to help another educator with she builds her name is Sylvia Morrison, Links Across Borders, and she builds libraries over there. And now we're trying to help the ninth graders go on to high school. If you visit my personal page, you'll see all about that in there. I have things on there about it. But I just I travel the world. I've taken students around the world in people to people student ambassadors to 10 countries, because I know students need to expand their horizons and to experience other people, other cultures. Because if you travel, it is fatal to prejudice, narrow-mindedness, and bigotry. And that's a belief I have. And I have a daughter and grandchildren in Australia and one in Denver. And I travel often to see them because it makes me happy to do lots of different things. So yeah, it's changed my life. Do I still have hard things? Yeah. Last year I had a hard year. And what did I do? To counteract that, I wrote a children's book about taking 100% responsibility. And
I know some people that could use that book right now.
Yeah. Yeah. My husband was diagnosed with early dementia. And if anyone knows anything about that, I'm now writing a book called, and this fits with what you're talking about, Jeff. It's called Live in the Moment. Every minute matters. We have 1,440 minutes in every day. And I'm trying.
86,400 seconds.
Yep. You know the seconds, I know the minutes. And they matter.
Yeah.
They matter.
No doubt. So I know you've been talking a lot about books here. And you said you're in 6 of them. That's nuts. But so can you tell us a little bit about those books?
I would love to. Well, the first one I told you about was when I broke my wrist, is called Ordinary Miracles. And the second one I was in is called Women Who Impact. I wrote From Surviving to Thriving. And I wrote about, it was 10 years of hard times when my husband and I survived the 1980s farm crisis on our farm here in Mount Pleasant, Iowa. And we live on a heritage and century farm. That's 150 years of the same family. And a lot of families lost their farms during that. So I tell what John and I did to save our farm. And what I had to do, I went back into education and became a teacher during that time. So I had to get up at 4 a.m. and study, and then get my kids off to elementary school, go to college, study there, come home, take care of them. And I was a straight A student. So you can do hard things when you believe in yourself, and when you love people enough to be the very best version of yourself.
Yeah, you know, one of my friends, Tracy Ward, says has a what had a son that was born with some physical disabilities,
Mhm.
and she knew it was coming on like before the however the test before the baby's born. They told her that he's going to be messed up.
Mhm.
Well, messed up doesn't really sound right, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
And they said that he is going to have a hard life. It is going to make your life hard. And you know what she said? This is why I just thought of this, and I absolutely love it because it's perfect for your point. She said, "That's fine. I can do hard."
Yeah. You
And
know,
that's what you just said, and that's like, wow,
and
amazing.
Jeff, life is hard. There's
Yeah,
nobody that doesn't have a hard life. Guess what? We get to choose our hard. It's hard if you do good things for yourself and others. It's harder if you don't.
yeah,
So I choose that hard over the other hard, because my goal is to have no regrets when
yeah.
I die. That's my
That's
goal. So if it's a
so true.
passion, if it's a dream, I'm going for it. I turn 70 years old next year, and I have decided that next year I'm training for the Iowa Games in swimming, because I
Wow.
never tried out for the swim team because we didn't have girls' sports back then. Okay. So I'm just going to go see if what I can do, because I'm inspired by the Olympics. So
That's
I told
awesome.
my personal trainer today, I said, we're going to train for the next year and I'll see what I can do. And isn't that what life's really about? Choose your heart.
Yeah, that is so amazing. And congratulations for making that decision.
Well, thank you.
So, but you were talking there about being almost 70.
Mhm.
And a lot of people would use that as an excuse not to try something new, not to step out on that limb.
Mhm.
But you're using it as fuel
I am.
to actually do it.
And
So, how are you doing that?
well, you know what my biggest fear was? Technology.
My
Because
mom
guess
hated that
guess
too.
what? I didn't have it. My girls even were out of high school before we had computers here at home.
Yeah,
So I had to make a decision. I hear so many people say, I'm technologically challenged. You know what I call myself? An emerging techie. Because every day I try to learn something new with technology.
that's so good.
And during COVID, I was a certified Jack Canfield trainer, and I was looking forward to going out and doing things. Well, we couldn't do that anymore. So
Yeah,
what did I do? I took all the online courses to learn how to do it online.
yeah, that's good.
So,
So, that's brave of you.
well, it choose your hard.
Yeah,
I had to overcome my fear. And it was so funny because the girl that was teaching the online course, she had a cartoon, and it's a picture of a teacher hiding under her desk, because at the door is the computer specialist and the principal saying, "It's okay, Mrs. Miller. It's just another teaching tool." And that's what happened to me at
yeah,
school. They dumped it off and said, "Good luck." So when I had a student teacher, what did I do? I took a course And I sat out there 8 hours a day till I could learn it. And I just kept pushing. My daughter said, Mom, you can't hurt anything. It'll tell you if you can't do it.
That's so good. Choose your hard. Yes,
Choose your
I
heart.
so agree. But I unfortunately though, I've enjoyed this conversation, but unfortunately we are out of time.
Oh,
But I do know that you brought a free gift for the crowd or the people in the audience.
I do.
So, and right there, I believe is the link.
Yes. And it follows my children's book, Never Mind the Monkey Mind. And it's a way for you to master your monkey mind. And then on my website, this is my new whoops, I can't even get it in the thing. I just did this book on Thursday. It became #1 new release on Amazon in all categories. And it has an educator's guide that's a free gift to people that buy the book. And that's on my website.
That's awesome. And right there is her website. I will link her free gift in the comments here. And then I will also put her website in the comments. And uh do you happen to have any other contact information?
I'm on Instagram at Denise A. McCormick. I'm on LinkedIn and I'm on YouTube. I have videos of all the TV shows and podcasts I've been on, and also the authors that I interview around the world that I have on my personal page, The Educator's Edge, where I do Jack Canfield trainings and self-care and interviews with authors to share books with people.
That is awesome. So I actually going to give myself a shameless plug here.
Good.
So this is my book.
Oh, I'm going to order it.
Well, this is one of my books.
Oh,
So
wow.
this is called Make Every Second Count, a 1,500-hour journal. And it is a 9-week journal that is supposed to be done 1 page per day
Oh,
in
wow.
the book. And it's all about helping you live in that moment, just like you were talking about.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I don't normally do that on here, but hey, why
It
not?
fits with our conversation, Jeff, because
Yeah.
we both know of the value of making every moment, every minute, and every second count.
Yeah, and there's 1,440 minutes a day and 86,400 seconds in a day.
Yep.
So I think you guys need to make them all count, and that means you have to get busy.
Yes.
But
Just do it.
yeah, just like Nike says, just
Just
do it.
do it.
So I have to say thank you again,
Thank you,
Denise.
Jeff.
I appreciate you coming on here and sharing, and I enjoyed our conversation. But I have to tell you and everyone out there to do me a favor this week, next week, and for the rest of your life. You need to make every second count. Why? Because you never know when the seconds are going to run out on your one life. Guys, I'll see you back here next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And until then, don't forget to make every second count.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Thank you.